Bring a slide on the Titanic by
This
us.
hello everyone. This is a slideshow on the Titanic. It is by as you can see a name here, our friend here, of course.
Yeah, and we are going to be collaborating together and going to be talking about it. Okay, let's start. You can go
Alright.
first.
What is the Titanic? Of course, everyone knows the Titanic. The Titanic was the largest ship in the world in 1912. It was also the first ship to have an art museum and heated pool. Amazing. People called it the Sailing Hotel or the SH Titanic, Sailing Hotel Titanic. The most amazing facts is that the Titanic is the most famous shipwreck in the world. And after that is the Britannic, its sister ship.
Yeah. Titanic had three ships, like sister ships, and one was Olympic, Titanic, and
Olympic was the most successful ship, but
yeah, Olympic,
sadly it didn't
Titanic, and
last.
Britannic. But somehow these three ships were kind of cursed because Britannic sank and then Titanic sank.
No,
So
first Titanic sank, then
yeah,
Britannic.
then Britannic sank. Right.
The HMHS is
Okay, I'll
Majesty's.
go on first. What's inside the Titanic? The Titanic was rich and beautiful. The first class got a gym, a art museum, a heated pool, three elevators, and Titanic had four restaurants. The second class had no private bathrooms. They were shared with three or maybe even four rooms. The second class has a spacious library, a barber shop, smoking room. The smoking room was only for the men, an outdoor promenade, walking area, dining room, one elevator, and a purser's office that stored their valuables. The third class passengers only got two bathtubs and two toilets. One bathroom were for men and one for women, obviously. They also got a dining room, general room, and a smoking room. This was also only for men. The smoking room was only for men, otherwise the dining room and general room for was everybody. You can do the next slide.
Yes, next slide. When did the Titanic sink? The Titanic hit an iceberg around 11:40 p.m. It was fully underwater at 2:30 p.m. And if you don't know the
2:30
date, it
a.m.
was on
Under
April 12th, 1912, 11:40 p.m.
yes. You can also read this one because the other slide was pretty short.
Exactly. How did the Titanic sink? I also have many theories of myself, but I'm going to read the first theories and then I'll read my own theories. There are many theories about how the Titanic sank, but we already know that the Titanic hit an iceberg. The main question is, whose fault is it? The most likely is Bruce J. Ismay. People reported him seeing him push a pregnant lady to get a spot in a lifeboat. Others say he hogged a lifeboat all to himself. But some say he helped a few people get into a lifeboat. This is the biggest mystery about the Titanic. And another theory. See, most people say that the Titanic wasn't always sunk by an iceberg. It was possible that a rock could have hit it. There, because they're in the Atlantic Ocean, there, and it was a winter night. The waves could have been strong, carrying lots of rocks or pebbles, hitting the Titanic every time, and it eventually sunk.
So, yeah, you're correct, but also the Titanic was going more faster than it should have been going, and people are also suspecting Bruce J. Ismay told and forced the captain to get the Titanic going more faster.
Another theory. By the way, the reason the Titanic sunk is because um, it had like what do you
Well,
call it?
we know we know
Less
it was
holes.
hit
It
by
had
an
less holes.
iceberg.
It had five holes in total, which ordinary ships have four, but five holes meant that less water could get in, but somehow the fifth hole could have flood. That's because the gates were open 24/7 every day, so the workers could get in and out. So it actually sunk faster because of that reason.
So also as I've
Oh,
heard.
The Californian, one of the ships, did not make it in time, and they had the radios off. But the Carpathia, if it was closer, the Titanic could have not sunk due to one
Yeah,
reason.
Californian operator, when Titanic sent the first SOS message, Californian did say shut up to the Californian said shut up to the Titanic operators because they just did it, and that was another thing. Also on Titanic, you can see that lots of people did send a lot of emergency messages to Titanic, but the recorder did not respond. He did not send it to the captain. So there is many theories about how the Titanic sank. So it's still a big mystery, and we're working on trying to find that out. Okay, I'll do this one. Who was the youngest survivor and passenger on the Titanic? The youngest survivor and passenger on the Titanic was Melvina Dean. She was 2 months old when she rode the Titanic. She was also the last survivor who rode on the Titanic to die. She died at the age of 97 because of pneumonia. She died on May 31st, 2009. So Milvina Dean, she was the last survivor who rode on the Titanic to die. Do you have anything to say, friend?
Not exactly. It's actually hard for most parents to get their kids on board if they're a third class passenger, because third class were the lowest and lots of third class passengers died, and most of the crew actually died too. Like 70% of the crew died, but
Okay.
because the captain and watchman on the tower died too.
On this slide, we will learn about the Dean family who were on the Titanic.
The Bertram Frank Dean, father of Milvinia Dean, was the only one in the family who died from the sinking because, of course, he was a man and men were not allowed
to go on the lifeboat.
Georgette Eva Light, mother of Milvinia Dean, she survived the Titanic sinking because she was a woman. She died at age 96. Bertram Vere Dean, brother of Milvinia Dean, he survived the Titanic sinking. He died at age 82, May 21st, 1910 to April 14th, 1992. Milvinia Dean, she survived the sinking of the Titanic, died at age 96, February 2nd, 1912, May 31st,
2009. Okay, I will do this one. Fun fact. The Titanic had 1,113 passengers. You can do the next one. We'll go on in
the Titanic was discovered 35 years ago in the 1980s.
The Titanic was discovered on July 19th, 1985.
The Titanic was a British liner ship, and it belonged to White Star Line.
People misunderstood that the Titanic was unsinkable.
Titanic would sink if more than 4 of its compartments would be filled with water. It did. There were 5 compartments, and all 5 of them were with water.
Robert Ballard found the Titanic.
The Titanic was named the RMS Titanic, not Royal Mail Carrier. It was actually Royal Majesty's ship.
Oh, I was wrong. Oopsies.
And its sister ship, the Royal Majesty's ship Olympic and His Majesty's Hospital ship were Britannic, were the 2 sister ships.
Yeah, you're correct. It was the Royal Mail ship or the Royal Majesty's ship. Yeah, you're correct. I'm sorry about that, everybody, for the wrong information.
No problem.
How did Robert Ballard find the Titanic? Robert Ballard tried 2 times before finding the Titanic. He found the Titanic with Argo, an unmanned submarine. He begged people not to take anything from the Titanic, but people did.
Wait, Steve, go back. Go to the how did Robert Ballard find the Titanic?
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at this picture right now, you see a fence in front of it, but and you see a little bit of an anchor bit like that. But that wasn't the case the day the Titanic sunk. It was never exactly like that, because over time, now if you go in ahead of 50 years from now, you will probably see that the front fence will be disappear. The front fence will be gone.
Because there is some bacteria that's eating the Titanic slowly.
And also, there are plans. About 20 years ago, 30 years ago, people decided when they found the Titanic, they would lift the Titanic up with a huge crane, very powerful crane, so that they could restore the Titanic's beautiful wonder and put it on like a display.
Yeah, that is true. Some people had crazy ideas like lifting it up with tennis balls. So Robert Ballard did find the Titanic. So also, He begged people not to take anything from the Titanic, but people did. So, in the comments below, would you agree with Robert Ballard or disagree with Robert Ballard? Would you want to take things from the Titanic or not want to take things from the Titanic?
If I were him, if I were anybody, a random person, I would keep everything the way it is. Don't touch anything. Don't touch
Because
anything.
it is someone's death site, right? You would never try to disturb someone's death site because it respects the Titanic and
It's like if you go to Athens in Greece, would you randomly touch the Parthenon, which is a big building in the top of a mountain?
I mean,
Would
you could
randomly
touch it, but why do you need to take things from it? You know,
Exactly. Like if you take a piece of rock from the Parthenon, people are just gonna say you're a thief for stealing something.
Yeah, but many people don't think that, which is sad.
These people who take things from the Titanic are called grave thieves.
Yes.
Wait, go back. What you missed the last part, the pictures of the Titanic. Back. If you go back.
So this is footage of the lost Titanic. On this slide, we are going to watch 2 videos of the footage of Titanic. So, here's one of them.
The grand staircase might be introduced in this. I've never seen the grand staircase before. Make it full screen. Could you make it full screen? I could not see. This is how people would live in the Titanic.
So this is I think this is what is this? Yeah, this is the cabin.
There's a dead body, I think I can see. It has a hat. There. There's a chandelier. And there's a famous picture of a shoe in the Titanic with a clothes around it. A famous picture of that. People say it belonged to a very rich man, and he died in the Titanic because he was a man, not a woman or a child.
Okay.
Exactly. And as you can see, a lifeboat. How it would have looked. It's a little blurry, but that's it.
Yeah, this is the grand staircase.
Yes, this is the grand staircase.
It's a bit destroyed.
It's wood, so it easily decays. Easily decays very, very much. We'll watch the next video now. There, the famous picture. There's the famous picture I was talking about. It's a very famous picture. There's the shoes. There's a shoe.
So that is the first video of the Titanic.
Move on to the next video.
Oops. How do I get out?
Escape. And the next video, of course. The NOAA Titanic expedition.
So this is actually Robert Ballard's NOAA. This is I think Robert Ballard owned this.
Yeah, this is a famous footage of it. The Titanic was first discovered by Robert Ballard and a team of researchers with the Woods Hole Oceanographic Things and IFirmer, a French institution. We returned Titanic in 2004 with Dr. Ballard to conduct some further studies.
So this is the person who is the narrator and talking about the Titanic.
You can't hear him, but I'll just say it. Back in 85 and back in 86, we conducted an updated photo for the site. We researched rusticles that were on the Titanic feeding on the metal. We conducted high-resolution video, but of the debris field in the site itself, as well as at the back of the Titanic. As you see, people. Exactly. Just pause a little bit. Pause it right there. We don't need to make it that long. It's a little long. Go back. As you can see, people, the reason the Titanic is a famous one is that it was actually cracked in two, and it was cracked in two very easily, actually, due to all the weight in it. So it just like only like a tilt of it, a small tilt.
Imagine if you put a piece of paper in the water. It would disintegrate into tiny little pieces after some while, right? That's exactly what happened to the Titanic.
And the Titanic, in fact, it actually sunk. It took about half a day to entirely sink. By the time the Carpathia came, the people were freezing cold. The Titanic was halfway below the ocean, so it was like basically like that. There were some buoys there, rescue things, ropes, a stick, and as you can see, much of the Titanic is covered under this dirt-like substance. Um,
Yeah,
what
that is.
bacteria? The bacteria. The thick metal pieces, the strong metal, has actually survived.
So
It doesn't.
all these things that you see on the ground, they are rusticles and pieces of coral and other things.
Coral doesn't grow well in deep light, but there are some ancient coral skeletons that fall from above water, of course. And a chain, the anchor, there you go, the anchor. See how huge the chain for it is. The huge it is.
So this is the wreck of Titanic. Wow, this is breathtaking. Let's
Literally.
see that there is a lot of. Ooh, it stopped floating. Oh wow. What's this part?
Wait, pause it there. I feel like I'm getting onto something. There are boilers. Five boilers.
Right, they are boilers.
There are
There's
five
two.
boilers on the Titanic, and each of them separated from the ship when it cracked. So by the time it reached the bottom of
There's
the
one
sea, they
boiler
were
still on the ship, but otherwise there is not many on the ship.
two of them remained in the ship. The rest of the three fell away from the ship.
That's the end of the video, everybody. So that's the end of this Titanic
You guys,
exploration video. And now we're gonna do our quiz. Who was the youngest survivor and passenger on the Titanic?
exactly.
How many elevators did the Titanic have? What luxuries did the first class have? What luxuries did the second class have? What luxuries did the third class have? You can answer these questions, but you don't need to. You just need to tell two or three luxuries if you want to answer these questions. When did the Titanic hit the iceberg? When was Titanic fully under the water? How many passengers were on board the Titanic? Who found the Titanic? What was the name of the unmanned submarine that found Titanic? Questions,
Questions?
anyone?
Anyone? If you
So
have a question, you can raise your hand or email us at paralyzed123@outlook.com or
we will
paralyzed123
put
at
these
gmail.com or email moholnarayan@gmail.com.
we will put these all in the description below so
Description.
you can email us. And if you don't want to email us, then you can just put it in the YouTube comment section down below.
And I
Thank
hope
you.
you guys,
Thank you
thank you
for
for
coming
coming
to
to
our
our presentation. We hope you like it. Bye.
Bye. Bye. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.